What's up guys, Merry Christmas. I hope you all had a great Thanksgiving. My name is Rex, and in today's video I'll be introducing a few new Pokemon to the Oceos region. While these few additions being featured might not all be relatively Christmas themed, I personally think they fit the criteria for a festive Wintermon, especially when winter in Australia is basically the hottest time of year in a beachy tropical environment. I know. I haven't posted in almost a month, but I'm really sorry for that. I hope this video can make up for that. I've had a really busy schedule, but I'm trying to get back on the grind, so thank you guys so much for understanding. So, what exactly are we tackling in today's video? First, I'll introduce a new single-stage fighting and water type. Then, I'll move on to a new single-stage fairy type, a two-stage fairy type line, and lastly, a single-stage ice type. I'm really excited to jump right into this because I just know you guys will love it as much as I do. I don't want to waste any more time, so let's get right into it, starting with the brand new water and fighting type. At first glance, you might not think that water and fighting is very Christmas-y, and to be frank, the design isn't much of a Santa Claus to begin with. However, its main inspiration is semi-Christmas themed, as this first mon is based on the red Christmas crabs of Australia. Around December, Australia is known by most of the locals to have an overpopulating amount of red crab species that groups in thousands and travel from their forest or beach habitats to the ocean so they can reproduce and grow the species even more. These crabs caught my eye almost immediately because, of course, as you guys will know, they're red. When first looking at these derpy little fellas, I knew that I had to come up with something that utilized this fun and unique natural occurrence. For the main design, it was really as simple as that: a small, cute, almost plush-looking bright red crab with a dark crimson shell and happy, cute little eyes. I was originally going with the pure water type because the palette was simple and it didn't really have a secondary concept. And after line art and colors, I went back and added some orange to the palette and an almost skeletal kind of rib symbol that one of my friends gave me as an idea. This gave me the idea for a fighting type, and from there, the idea got even better. Though it's a simple one, it might be one of my favorite Fakemon I've made yet, and could even possibly be one of the most iconic Oceos Fakemon that I've made. Crabbuff, solitary form. The social crab Pokemon. Crabbuff often walk in groups of thousands, migrating from one side of Oceos to the other, or sometimes even migrating to other regions for the season. This small Pokemon is extremely social and loves to hang out on sandy beaches and rocky cliffs in the hot, dry desert sun. Fast forward, and you might not have noticed something in the dex entry was when I said solitary form, subtly as I listed its name. Some of you might not think anything of this, but I actually turned this incredibly unique phenomenon into a very self-indulgent form change. My very first idea was to give it an evolution where it was basically a Santa crab, and while that could be a cool regional variant or even regional evolution or cross-gen, I think I like this idea better. When I revisited the base concept of crab migration, a wishy-washy styled form lit up in my head, and I couldn't stop thinking about that. In my opinion, it's the perfect way you could go to make a fun twist on this weird phenomenon, so I went for it. The design is pretty similar to Wishy-Washy's schooling form in terms of design philosophy, with the glowing dots, fluent colors, accompanied by the silhouettes of its smaller, less powerful form peeking out from the main group. I tried to sketch at first, but I didn't like it as the base, so I went back and did the symmetry tool, which was extremely helpful, and then I posed it, didn't really like it, and then reposed it again, and I found a place where I was happy with it. I really love how it turned out, even though it did take a few passes. A big red conglomerate crab is just what I think Oceos needs, and now it has one. If I was ever inspired to redesign this form, I'd really just add some snow or Christmas elements, like maybe a white beard of sorts or a shell in the shape of a Santa hat. But let me know what you think, and let me know if this does need a redesign, because it looks great, but it is a little rusty. And since a group of crabs are called a cast, this form is called the casting form. Crabbuff, casting form, the social crab Pokemon. When enough Crabbuff group together, they become a much more powerful form. This form of Crabbuff is made of thousands of them, creating a menacing appearance that can scare away any foe. Its giant glowing claws can snap down with surprising force, crushing any item in seconds with ease. Now that Mon is said and done, let's move on to a single stage fairy type dessert Fakemon. I'll admit, this doesn't really have much of a concept. In fact, it doesn't really have much of a design to begin with. It's really just a silly idea I had in August and made to practice my new rendering style that I was working on at the time. In a nutshell, it's basically just a mochi donut fae with two being stuck together like the magician ring trick. Not much to it, and if you're wondering why a mochi donut in Australia, well, to be completely honest, I just went with what came to mind. See, the day before I made this idea, I went to this bakery a few minutes away from my house, and wow, they had so many delicious treats, and one of them was actually a strawberry and coconut mochi donut. So I guess that bakery made me create a stupid little fairy, but what works works. Inspiration comes in funny ways, so there you go. So yes, this really is just a silly self-indulgent Jokomon. That's all, and that's it. Mochienno, the donut ring Pokemon. Fast and mischievous, Mochienno run into battle as fast as they can. It seems most Mochienno are attached to another at birth. Though useful in battle, it often leads to major conflicts in everyday life, affecting the Pokemon and its lifestyle. It seems to be gaining popularity in Arceus. Now there's another fairy-type Dessertmon, but this time, its concept is actually pretty damn solid. In the land down under, there's a breakfast treat and sometimes also found in birthday parties known as fairy bread. Fairy bread is fairly popular and widely known even outside of Australia, as it's really just the most unhealthy white sandwich bread buried in sprinkles. Certainly this is festive enough for Christmas, right? What could I possibly do with a goofy little breakfast meal for children? Well, to start, there's fairy in the name, but we need more than that, right? Only found in the Aussie Islands, usually the snowy mountainous parts too, there's a species of marsupial known as the Quoll. They're semi-small, cute, and as every Australian species seems to do, glows in the dark. You damn weirdo. The white spots on the back, its coloration, and the interesting behavior made this animal the perfect candidate for a new Fakemon. And I went from there. Dude, are you barking at me? Dog. With the help of my friend, Frog Prince, I managed to simplify the first stage to the best it could be, and this is definitely one of my most official looking mons, I would say. I went with an orange, pink, white, and blue for the sprinkle coloration. Of course, the main coloration was a bright cinnamon with the underbelly being a pale yellow and the back a nice chocolatey color. The proportions and overall build was a chunky little rat, but I couldn't be happier with how it turned out. Quolloaf, the fairy sprinkle Pokemon. It uses its large, bushy tail to seek out food and shelter from the harsh mountainous areas it calls home. During the night, Quolloaf's vibrant patterns will glow in different variations, making it a favorite pick for trainers participating in contests. While we stay on track with the Quoll inspiration for the evolution, I had to add more and change a few things to have the evolution feel like a real evolution and not just a gets bigger Pokemon. To start, instead of being based on fairy bread, its main inspiration is from the Aussie dessert known as Nonferails. Nonferails are a chocolate cookie also buried in sprinkles. Is this an Aussie thing? Do they just like burying sugar on top of sugar? Or like what are we doing here, guys? Come on. Sometimes the sprinkles are red and green, they're usually Christmas desserts, and sometimes they're rainbow like fairy bread, but almost always, or at least half the time, have a solid white color. The contrast and lack of colors gave me the thought to change its color scheme to black, brown, and white, with the addition of the dark type to represent how fierce and rude these little dudes can be sometimes. The reasoning for the build being a little different than its Prevo, while it might not be noticeable, is a small inspiration that I added. Not only the Quoll, but I also added some tree kangaroo in there. I chose to have the tail curled up and almost posed in front, with a dynamic posing to make it look like it was about to strike its opponent, with a bite mark in it, almost having it look like a cookie. I also added it on the neck, except that is just a straight up cookie. That's not even trying to hide it. It's just a Nonferail. After tweaking with the patterns and a few other things, I messed with the eyebrow and nose placement at the end and changed the eyes from a black to magenta so they actually pop rather than blend in. The goal with the design for any character, especially Pokemon, should be to direct the viewer's eyes to the eyes of the Pokemon. So I hope I accomplished that with this stage, but you let me know. Nonferail, the Nonferail Pokemon. Upon evolving, Nonferail's colorful patterns are now monochromatic and only glow a blinding white at night on command. Its tail is quick and powerful, able to land a swift blow in battle. It is often known for its cruel nature to humans. And a water type and 3 fairies later, we are here with a long at last, the coolest Mon of them all. You'll get it. Trust. As you can imagine, an ice type for a beachy tropical region isn't easy. The only thing I could think of, this was the first ice type I ever made for my region, is to have it something be artificially made to counteract the heat. And you know what counteracts heat? It's coolers, guys. The big Yeti box. The big grill barbecue. You know, you dig? You see where I'm going with this? Maybe it's a counterpart to the shrimp-a-Q, shrimp-a-krill, you know? I actually sketched the original idea's concept way back in December of 2024 with the concept of a turtle having a cubed shell which generates ice to keep cool. And I finished the sketch once I got my iPad last year, fully rendered it, though I'll be honest, it wasn't very good. And I redesigned it this past summer into something I can now say I'm very happy with. Yes, it's certainly simple, but I think it's important to have a simple concept like this in every region. And if you couldn't tell, the design is a little reference to the scrapped Christmas box turtle. Of course, my design has more than a few differences, but I like how it turned out in the end. I also thought about giving it an evolution that's like, I guess, a tortoise with an igloo shell and ice cannon sticking out. Blastoise, no, obviously it'd be different, but that could just be material for the gimmick of my region, or even a future Mega Evolution, so let me just know what you think. Freezurt, the Icebox Pokemon. Freezurt are often hiding underground to keep themselves safe from the burning sun. They generate ice cubes with their box-shaped shell to create a freezing blood flow that keeps them cold, even in 100+ degrees. Freezurt are often very shy and give almost no reaction to seeing other Pokemon, as they are too cold to create much movement, which is why they are known as one of the slowest Pokemon. Alright, and that's going to wrap it up for this video. I'm so glad that I got to post some Arceus content, even with how busy my schedule's been lately. I hope y'all enjoyed my festive Fakemon, and have a Merry Christmas. Happy Holidays, Rex out. Peace.